I walked into a brand last year that was scaling their ad budget every single month. More spend, more traffic, more products on the shelf, but their revenue wasn't matching their effort. The ad team said, you need to keep spending, that's how growth works. So they did, they increased budget, they got more site visitors, but the revenue didn't move proportionally. Here's what they didn't realize. They didn't have a traffic problem, they had a system problem. Customers were visiting, carts were being abandoned, and past buyers were going silent. There was no structured email system to convert, recover, and retain that revenue. More ads were just pouring water into an already leaking bucket. So instead of scaling ad spend, we built their back end. One brand went from 0 email revenue to 73,432 in just 30 days, using the same traffic they already had. That's when they understood ads don't scale, systems do. Today, I'm going to show you how to unlock the hidden revenue in the traffic you already have. By the end of this video, you'll understand why your competitors are scaling faster than you without increasing their ad budget.
Okay, so how e-com brands can hit 30% plus revenue from their email without touching their ad budget. Essentially, every store owner needs to do 3 things, which is get your pop-up form converting at least a 10% sign-up rate. You need to implement your core flows, and then you need to send 2 to 3 campaigns. You need to do these 3 things before anything else, before you want to do some crazy niche automations. Get these staples done first, and you're going to have really good results. Okay, so we're going to go through each of these 3 steps, but before we do that, I'm just going to jump into some proof. I've got an example here of a brand that we work with as well as many others, and all we did for this brand is pretty much those 3 steps. We got a pop-up form converting at least 10%. We implemented our core flows, and then we started sending 3 campaigns per week. So that's it, nothing complicated and no extra ad spend. And you can see here in the last 30 days, they did a total of 206,000, and 65,000 of that came from email marketing, so just over 30%. And that is all we did, nothing crazy. It really is just those core automations and sending out those value-based campaigns. You can see a huge portion came from the automated flows we had in place, and then we had a bit from the campaigns, really just adding fuel to the fire. So starting off here, first things first is the lead capture. So if you're spending loads of money on paid traffic, on meta ads, Google ads, whatever it may be, majority of people, they are going to come to your website, they're going to visit, they're going to land, they're going to browse, and then they're going to leave. So for every 100 people that visit your site, maybe 2 to 3 convert if you're lucky. So without having a pop-up form in place, you're only going to convert a very small percentage of people who were actually ready to buy on that first visit. Everyone else that you've paid for is just gone and you've lost them forever. So a pop-up form is basically how you get them back. This one here is a brand that we started working with, and through some A/B testing, implementing things like a micro commit, changing the offer and things like that, we were able to double the conversion rate. So they were originally at a 7.7% submission rate, and now they're at a 14.36. So just by doing that one thing, double the amount of people were entering their email list. Before we'd even made any changes to this brand's welcome series, their welcome series revenue doubled purely on the fact that just double the amount of people were entering. Not to mention, going forward, when we start sending campaigns, there's a lot more people to send to, and then, you know, the name of the game is send more emails to more people, make more sales. You want to make it as simple as possible. So it's really important that you nail the pop-up form, which is why this is the first thing that we're going to go over. So we're going to go over the strategy now. So with a pop-up form strategy, you want to implement a micro commit, as I just mentioned there, which is simply you're asking a question before anything else. Sort of first step, they're far more likely to commit and actually hand over their email address, as you can see on the example here, where we're asking a little simple question. All they have to do is tap that. It's a very low commitment. We're not asking for an email address straight away. But once someone does this, they're far more likely to continue because they've already committed to that first step. So the next one is you just want one input per step. What I mean by that is I don't want to see a form that has, I want to know your first name, your second name, your phone number, and your email address all in one form. It's too much friction. No one will ever fill that form out. So you can see it's one step, one step here, click that button. Next step here, implement your email address. Last step, implement your phone number. But as I mentioned here, one field per page, friction as low as possible. The next one is you want the offer to be as clear as possible. Give them a real reason to hand over their email address. So for this brand here, it's you've got an exclusive discount. You can see that is just like the only copy you see there. It jumps out at you. That's what you're getting if you enter your email address. What you don't want to say is sign up to our email address to find out the next best things and we'll keep you updated with what you're doing. The reality is you just need to have an offer. So make that the main focal point of your pop-up form. And then the next one is add SMS. Have SMS, but do that after they've given their email address. You want the email address more than you want the SMS. Do that on the third step. Don't add it in here where it's like phone number. One thing that would be really good to do is the wording that you've got here for SMS. Say finish signing up to activate your discount. Don't just say, hey, do you want to give us your SMS? Say finish signing up. Make it feel like they've got to actually finish completing what they're doing in order to get the offer, even though they only need to submit here technically to get the offer. Keep it clean, clear headline, clear clear offer, one call to action, nothing else.
Here's the thing, if you're an e-commerce brand and you don't have a system like this, you are losing money every single day. Your competitors are quietly taking your revenue while you're still figuring out what works. If you want to see if we can do the same for your brand, head to oakhurstmarketing.com, the link is in the description, and book your email strategy call. I'll personally audit your store, show you what's blocking conversions, and map out the framework we would use to scale your revenue. No fluff, just real strategy. Back to how we built the system.
Okay, so next we're going to go over the core flow. So I go over this so many times in my videos. I speak to so many brand owners where they talk about these like really niche automations that they want to implement, but yet they've got nothing else set up at this point. So before you get into those really niche automations or fancy sequences, as I mentioned here, get these basics done first. They're going to act as your 24/7 sales team. And as I mentioned here again, once they're live and built properly, they're going to generate revenue around the clock without you even lifting a finger. So I've just got a little table here of the flows that you should implement. So you've got the welcome series, the site abandonment, the browse abandonment, the abandoned cart, the abandoned checkout. These are all of your pre-purchase flows. So this is everything that happens before someone makes a purchase. And then you've got your post-purchase flows, which is your post-purchase and your customer win back. I've added in all the triggers here of what you need to trigger within Klaviyo to kick off these flows. And then I've gone over the purpose. So for the welcome series, the idea of the welcome series is you want to deliver the offer straight away, introduce the brand, and then do everything you can to drive that first purchase. That's what it's there for, and it should be at least 7 emails long. For your site abandonment, that's for people that land on your website and then leave straight away. They don't view any products, they don't add anything to cart, and all you're trying to do here is re-engage them back to your site. So you'd probably want to highlight your best sellers for this email, and it's just 1 email long. The browse abandonment, this is someone that views a product but they don't actually add it to cart. So they're interested but they weren't convinced enough to add to cart. So all you want to do here is remind them, reinforce the benefits, and get them to convert. For the abandoned cart, obviously it's someone that adds to cart but doesn't start checkout. You want to tackle their objections and then recover the lost sale. Abandoned checkout, starts checkout but does not complete. This is where you want to recover the lost sale and then use urgency and social proof to drive that purchase. Post-purchase, really here, you're trying to remove buyer's remorse. If someone's just spent money on your website, you want to make them feel as good as possible about the purchase they have made. You might want to educate them on their product and also just thank them. And then you've got the customer win back, which is usually fired between 60 to 90 days. You can split test this yourself and see which works best, but you're essentially reminding them on what they bought or what they're missing out on, and just give them a reason to re-engage with your brand. So this is where you could show new things that you've added to your website, to your store, and just give them a reason to come back. Okay, so let's go over some results of what having these core flows implemented looks like. So I've just got an example here of one of our client accounts. If you tally up all this revenue here, this is generating £42,709 every single month. Okay, and this makes up 22% of total store revenue. So we're almost already at the 30% mark just from having these flows live, and they were implemented a long time ago, and these just work on autopilot now, and you can see it's all of those flows that we just went over above. Let's move on to the campaigns now. So the flows tend to do the heavy lifting, and campaigns are essentially pouring fuel onto the fire. So once your flows are live, consistent campaign sending is what's going to keep your brand in the inbox, help you stay top of mind, and it's going to turn those one-time buyers into repeat customers and really compound your email revenue every single month. So I've got a list here of what you should send, some ideas of campaigns. A lot of brands get stuck and they don't know what to send, they've run out of ideas. So I've listed a few here. I won't go over every single one of them, just to give you some of my favorites. I really like doing an us versus them. This is where you showcase the benefits of your brand and your product and compare it to other brands and your competitors, and you basically let the subscriber make their own choice, but obviously you're going to highlight your benefits against others, so they're going to choose your brand. Another one will be a personal note from the founder. So this is going to be like a plain text email, come from the founder. It's not heavily designed, just going over maybe why you started the brand or what your favorite products are or what you're using this month, things like that. And then also another one would be a before and after. So let's imagine you've got a skincare brand. You could show some before and after results of people using your products. So these are the sort of things you should be doing for your campaigns, not just sending discount codes constantly, just begging for a sale. Okay, so the rules: 3 to 4 campaigns per week is the sweet spot for most brands, and you always just want to send to your 90-day engaged segment. Don't send to your full list. You're going to hit deliverability problems. Your emails are going to go to spam. So just create this segment within Klaviyo. You want to be selling the outcome, not the product. Just like I went over there with like a skincare product, you're not trying to sell the product. You're showcasing the before and after. That's the outcome you're selling. Okay, and then every month just review what worked, cut out what didn't, and double down on what did. So take whatever those best-selling campaigns of the month. If you're sending 3 to 4 a week, you should have a good batch of 12 to 15 a month. Take the top 5 best-selling, best-performing campaigns and then iterate on those and do that every single month. So what I've got here, are some examples of some really good performing campaigns. So use these as inspiration. Again, these are not just discount codes, they're very much educational. So you take this brand here, dates aren't just sweet, have a taste. What makes these special little fruits so special? We're educating the customer on what makes the fruit on their product so special. Another one here, Bite. This is that us versus them that I mentioned earlier, where they're comparing their product, bite-sized capsule toothpaste to your normal toothpaste brands and showcasing why that they're the superior brand. So yeah, that's an angle I've really liked to use. Down here, I've got some examples of some plain text emails. So these are the sort of founder-led emails that I really like to see. You can sort of see from here, they're like 100 words max. They're not super lengthy. They're quite spaced out and they're just bite-sized pieces of information. And these perform really well. Sprinkle these in maybe for every 2 design campaigns you send one plain text email, because it just breaks up the inbox. It's not what people are used to, and these just perform really, really well. So feel free to pause the screen here and have a read of what those are and iterate and create those for your own brand, and that's everything.
Most e-commerce brands are stuck thinking the only way to scale is more ads, more spend, more traffic. But I've worked with 30+ brands, and the ones building real revenue aren't spending more, they're building systems. They audit their data, they build capture systems, they create welcome sequences, they segment strategically, and they run campaigns that feel personal. We took Mailbaits from 0 email revenue to £73,432 in their first month. And it wasn't through hacks or manipulation, it was through a system that actually understands customers. If you're losing money on abandoned carts, if your email is barely moving revenue, if you're trapped spending more and more on ads for the same result, you don't need more ads, you need a better system. Go to oakhurstmarketing.com, the link is in the description, and book your free email strategy call with myself. I'll audit your traffic, show you exactly where the hidden revenue is, and I'll map out a system to unlock it. Your competitors are building systems right now, don't fall behind.